speed is huge. And so if you want to get a good price, you got to be quick. And so you got to integrate real estate into your life to do so.
Welcome to Multifamily Insights. I'm your host, John Casman, and I want to thank you for joining us for another great episode. If you are getting some great value and learning a lot about real estate investing in multifamily, make sure you give us some honest feedback and leave us a rating and review. It helps us and helps other listeners find this show and get the same value you're getting. And listen, if you haven't done so, this is your first time listening or just, for whatever reason didn't do it yet, make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Now, we've got a great show today. We're going to be talking to Wyatt Simon. They say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you want to grow as a multifamily investor, you have to spend more time with other multifamily investors. And an easy way to do that is to join our apartment investing mastermind group today. Just go to casmancapital.com and click on the mastermind button. Now, as a part of this group, you'll get access to expert trainings, group coaching calls, industry news and updates, as well as all of our webinars and workshops, including our 3-hour workshop on raising capital. Again, if you want to be around other multifamily investors that can help you scale your portfolio today and grow your network, make sure you're a part of the Apartment Investing Mastermind. Just go to casmancapital.com and click on the mastermind button today. Wyatt Simon was a washed-up basketball player turned investor. Now he owns and operates a $20 million vertically integrated real estate portfolio and has mastered the BRRRR strategy. Now, Wyatt helps students take control of their financial future by utilizing real estate. He's a member of City Light Church, and the author of Your First 100 Doors, a real estate investor's guide to scaling a rental portfolio, which is coming out soon. Let's welcome to the show, Wyatt Simon.
Wow, John, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. Hey, Wyatt, I went over your bio at a very, very high level. Why don't you take 2 minutes and fill in some of those gaps?
Yeah, so starting out, just like everybody else, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that little purple Bible, and said, man, I really want to have something working for me while I sleep so that I don't have to work for money the rest of my life. So that was how I found real estate. I was fortunate. I worked for a home buying company. That was my first job out of college when I was 22, and they were buying 25 houses a month. And I was like, man, they're making so much money. I want to do that. So I eventually started I started living in a duplex, house hacking, living one side, rent out the other. Fast forward, I did a BRRRR strategy, which is man, I don't know if the listeners don't know what BRRRR is. It's buy, rent, renovate, repeat, refinance, repeat. And so all that allows you to do, the reason why that strategy is so big is because it allows you, for someone who doesn't have a lot of capital, to recycle the capital. And that was huge for me because I was able to turn a little bit of capital into a lot of assets, just doing it again and again and again. And I guess here we are now. I've done it 52 times and it's worked out well.
I love it. 52 times over what time frame?
Over the course of 7 years.
Wow, that's incredible. All right, so 52 birds over the course of 7 years. And it just goes to show like what you mean, right? We talk about that rinse and repeat part. You can take a little bit of capital and really stretch it. Out of curiosity, how much capital did you have on that very first deal?
So I'm the kid that I didn't have any money, no money. My parents, they didn't have any money, but they did have their house paid off in cash. And so I'm the kid that took a 200K line of credit and turned it into a $20 million portfolio.
I love it, man. I love it. Talk to me about that process, right? I mean, talking to mom and dad, getting them excited with this. I mean, I know so many people will be like, "Ooh, that feels like a lot of risk, right? I've never invested, don't own any properties. I'm gonna need a line of credit on my parents' home. What?"
Mhm. Yeah, and they did, right? So the first time I bought my duplex by myself, right? So I bought a duplex, lived in one side, rented out the other. The whole time I was like, Dad, look at this BRRRR strategy. Look at what these people are doing. We got to do this. And so I was like, would you let me take a home equity line of credit out on your house to do this? And he said, absolutely not. And so it took me 9 months of me going to meetups, educating myself, living in a duplex, getting my own real estate, my own, career launched. And then eventually he came around to the idea that, okay, we'll try it one time. And so we bought a house and it took me 46 offers. I was going on market. No real estate agent wanted to work with me. They were so tired of a 22-year-old lowballing. And eventually we got one deal, and it took me 6 months of working on the house after work, at a full-time job, after work, I'm going on the house and working on it. I wasn't handy. I didn't know how to do anything, but my buddy, who I played basketball with in college, grew up on a farm. And so he knew how to do everything. I said, Nate, can I pay you 25 bucks an hour and I'll be your grunt. I'll just work underneath you. We'll do this thing after work. So after work, that's what we did. All the things happened on that property. I threw my back out, like all the things. But eventually it worked and we were able to get it appraised out and we were able to refinance all of the initial capital except for 2 grand back to my parents plus interest. And so we bought that house for 2 grand. That house nets over 500 a month right now in cash flow. Plus it's already, generated over 100K in equity. So it's a powerful strategy.
And you still own that house.
Still today. Yep.
I think that's the beautiful thing about that strategy, right? Is that you can buy something, renovate it, fix it up, go ahead and get it rented out, refinance, and then repeat that process. And you don't have to sell the asset. And that's one of the things that makes real estate so appealing, right? You can look at the stock market or other investment vehicles, but a lot of times, in order to really, cash out, you have to sell that golden goose, right? In this case, you don't have to do that. You can refinance, you can pull out equity, you can pay off your family, you can pay that off, and you can keep going. And now you have an asset too, which you can leverage, accordingly on other things. So that's great. You mentioned that you had this buddy Nate who had the experience of, being able to fix things. You didn't have it. You could pay him 25 bucks and just be kind of the grunt and labor underneath him. How much convincing did you have to do for him to come on board, and what was that relationship like?
Hmm. Not too much, to be honest with you. He always wanted to get into real estate, always wanted to do something. So for him, it was good side work. We were both, 22, 23. So it was a good hourly wage for him. And, we had fun. We had fun doing it together. We got Chick-fil-A just about every night. It was, 5 minutes away. So there was a Lowe's and a Chick-fil-A and then the house. And so we were constantly just doing a Lowe's, Chick-fil-A and house trip.
sounds like a sounds like we could all see that happening, right? Just hitting up those three places. Did you have the funds to pay him out of the gate, or were you paying him on the back end once the work was completed?
We were paying him out of the gate. Yep. As he
Yeah.
went, we paid him hourly every week.
Yeah. I think that's important too because a lot of times we have friends and definitely those friends want to help, but you can't expect everyone to be an equal partner, right? And in this case, it sounds like you had two people who were really important in helping you get going, but you structured those relationships in a way that I think is really, really intelligent. I want you to elaborate more, right? So one, you had your father, your parents who helped you get that line of credit for the home. Then you had your friend Nate who helped you do the work, but you didn't go into it and say, hey guys, I need you to do all this work first. And then once everything is done, I'm going to take care of you. It sounds like there was a little bit more of a process in how you approached it. Can you elaborate on that, especially for someone else who may be starting out and saying, okay, I have these relationships with people who can help me, but I don't have the funds right now to be able to pay somebody a salary?
Yeah, great question. So I like to say in order to do things, you have to have defense, offense, and then you can invest. Okay. Defense is Dave Ramsey 101. Have a budget, stick to a budget, know your expenses that are going out of your personal life, right? If you don't have that, start there. Number two is offense, right? And that is you have to generate cash somehow. You have active income, time in, time out. And so you should be spending your time, something has got to be generating cash. And then with the surplus of those, that is when you can move into investing. And the reason I bring this up is because my students, we have some people that I don't want to you got to have the offense first. And so some people are like, oh, I want to do this real estate thing. Well, it's like you got to be lendable. And so for me, I was excelling in my career and that helped pay the interest to my parents, right? And that helped me pay the money to my contractor, Nate. And because I was able to take my active income job and pay these people, I was able to then do the investing side of things. But it starts with having the active income.
I appreciate you sharing that because, somebody who heard the first part of your story may hear, hey, I'm a guy who started from nothing. I got this loan from my parents, so it's off their house. And from that, I built this $20 million portfolio. And yes, while that's true, there's a key component that's missing, right? Which is you had a day job that was giving you some income and you were taking that income and you were able to pay, Nate to do the work. Not to mention you were house hacking, right? So you were in this duplex, lived in one unit, rented out the other. And a lot of times people miss these foundational things. And the hardest thing to start is at the beginning, right? It's
Yep.
one thing when you're already moving and it's just a matter of making a little small change. But, a lot of times people say, well, I don't have enough money to invest in real estate, but they don't understand like some of the steps you took early to position yourself, again, your housing situation, your expenses, make sure that you had, income coming through. Those things really set you up for growth and success. You mentioned some of your students, some of the clients that you work with. What are some of the main challenges you see other investors facing when they're looking to become real estate investors?
So once you get the foundation that you just covered so well there, once you get the foundation, then is when you can start investing. And so when it comes to investing, there's really the three things that you have to figure out. The first one is you have to have your vision. You need to have the right strategy and the vision for where you want your life to go, right? And there's so many different strategies that you can do in real estate. You can do wholesaling, you can do fix and flip, you can do buy and hold, you can do BRRRR, you can do wholesale, right? You can do multifamily, you can do office. There's different strategies and there's different markets too, right? If you're in California, the BRRRR strategy might not work for you as well as if you're in Nebraska, right? And so there's a lot of different things that you have to pick. And so the first thing that we do is we narrow down, okay, with your specific situation, what is the right strategy for you? After we know the right strategy, we gain clarity. And once you gain clarity, then you can take action, right? So we got to get the strategy. After we get the strategy, you got to get your financing partner. Number two is your financing partner, right? Because not a lot of people are going to be buying cash straight up. And so after we get the financing partner, we need to be prepared to go to banks, right? We have to be prepared to be lendable. Banks want to lend to you, they want to make money, but they got to feel safe. And so we teach people how to be prepared and actually go to banks where banks are chasing you down and not the inverse. And then the last thing is once we get our clear vision, once we get bankable and the financing partner, then we got to get deals. And a lot of people are like, I don't know, there's no deals. Well, you got to start with the first two, right? But once you get the last thing is deals and how we set deals up. So people are actually bringing you deals, right? Every single one of these pieces, you're first off, you're responsible for the vision. Second off, there's a financing partner. There's a who that is responsible to helping you there. And then we want to find other who's to help bring deals to you, whether that's realtors or wholesalers. And so we want to find those people to put them on your team so that you can start excelling.
Yeah, I love that you talked about kind of the who's, right? Going back to, that who not how philosophy. It starts with you. You got to set the vision and the strategy, but from there, now you're going to find that who's your financial partner, who's going to lend you money, right? Who's going to help you finance these deals and opportunities. And then who's going to bring you these deals and opportunities, right? Who has access, who has relationships, who are these people that you need to add onto your team? Start with your clear vision. That's going to make it easier to get the next two things you need. Again, you talk about the vision, that financial partner, as well as kind of the deal flow. You're right. I hear a lot of people say, "Hey, it's hard to find deals in this market," and that's starting to shift a little bit with the interest rate environment changing. What are some of the things that you see the most successful investors do to attract deals, whether it be off market or on market deals that maybe other investors aren't doing?
Integrate real estate. That is my coin term, integrate real estate. Now, what I mean by that is you have to be someone, you want to build relationships in this business, right? You want people that are bringing you deals. Well, how do we work with those people? We have to integrate real estate into our life. I'll give you an example of this. One of my students, he blocked off 4 hours on Saturday to do deal analysis and offers because he had a full-time job. And then on Saturday, he would do 4 hours of deal analysis and offers, calling on market, trying to make as many connections as possible. Well, that sounds great. The problem with that was that he was missing out on deals that would come on the market on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday even, and he wasn't getting them to them until Saturday. And so what we taught him is you have to integrate real estate into your life so that when you have a search set up, when something does hit your inbox, you're being quick, you're responding quickly, you're getting to that deal first, and you're able to then build that relationship with that agent or that wholesaler because speed is huge. And so if you want to get a good price, you got to be quick. And so you got to integrate real estate into your life to do so.
I know that's one of the biggest challenges for people who have a full-time job is trying to figure out, well, how do I dedicate the time to be a real estate investor? I may have weekends, I may have nights, maybe have other family obligations. So it can be a challenge for people. You talked about integrating real estate. Um, for those folks who are maybe having a hard time, either time blocking or figuring out when they can carve out that time to integrate real estate, what advice or feedback would you give them?
I'd say check how much time you're spending on social media and replace that with spending it on Zillow or spending it on your inbox, your email inbox of deals that are hitting your inbox. And I promise you, you'll be shocked if you just look at how much time you're spending on Facebook, Instagram, and then change that to actually looking at houses. You take 5 minutes to go to the bathroom in the morning, have it be looking at houses and not on Facebook. It's crazy what will happen when you change your focus. We've got little time chunks and they're hidden in our day, but they're there.
I think it's so key, man. It's just you have to figure out where you can create time. And part of it is time blocking, but then also just like you said, is reprogramming. And I love that notion of, hey, if you can change this habit to say, okay, hey, I got a little downtime. Let me grab my phone and just scroll through for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And if instead you can say, okay, hey, maybe I don't have enough time to underwrite a deal, right? And to run the numbers on a deal, but I can go on Zillow or I can go through my inbox and I can see which deals fit my criteria and I can save them or I can flag them and I can reach out to the broker and ask some questions or get some more information. And that way I'm at least expressing that interest and now I'm buying myself maybe a little bit more time where I can do that later in the afternoon or the evening, but they've heard from me and they're expecting me to come back to the table. So little changes that can have, big results as long as you are being very intentional about the time and what you're trying to get accomplished. I know when I was making that transition personally, it was very challenging trying to uh trying to not necessarily make time, but stay on task for everything, because the deal would come through and I'd want to underwrite it, but I got a meeting in 3 minutes. So I had to juggle those things that I finally started to work through some mechanisms to help me with that, but then also delegating, right? It was just like I realized I couldn't do everything, at least while I wasn't full time. So learning how to delegate, learning how to trust those who's, that was a big part of my success. As you kind of reflect back on your journey from that $200,000 line of credit to a $20 million portfolio, what are some of those key steps or key decisions you made along the way that led to that success?
Yeah, so well said. I really want to touch on that point is it's not about it's you can teach a skill, but it's what you become that is what
Mhm.
matters. And so a lot of people just need to learn the skills first to then get the success that is going to follow afterwards. But you must become to get something, you must become something to achieve it. And then you have to become it and you have to do it for a long period of time, longer than you think to then achieve it. And so it starts with the skill set first. Um, so hopefully that answers your question on that. And then as far as my journey, as far as what were like the big learning things for me or what happened, I would say I had a few deals. I'll go on to the next deal. So I shared with the Burr deal, right? The next deal that I had, I was like, man, this thing is awesome. I am the best. This is so easy. And so the next deal that I did, I called the Purple Palace, and I bought it for cheap from a wholesaler, and I was working on it with my buddy Nate, and then the city inspector came in and said, "Where's your permit?" And I was like, what's a permit?" I didn't even know. And he then educated me on what a red tag is, and he shut down the project. My rehab went from 20,000 to 60,000. I had to get licensed contractors in the city of Bellevue, which is a suburb of Omaha. And long story short, it was a major painful learning lesson. It took me 11 months to finally get that thing done. But the great part about it was I learned how to hire contractors because I couldn't be involved. And so that then leveled up my game because again, I found a better who that could do the work for me so that now I could just go focus on finding the deals and start scaling and doing multiple projects at once. And so that was the next unlock in my journey. And then after the contractor who unlock, Then I learned the financing unlock, which was like, man, I don't have to buy this with one line of credit in cash. I can actually take that line of credit and get an 80% loan. And now I can do four houses at once with four contractors. And now I'm just deal dependent because I'm always looking at what's the constraint in my business. Why am I not doing more? What is the constraint? And so after the contractor got solved, after the financing got solved, then the constraint became deals. And the next big unlock for me was I got really tired of going on market with realtors and wholesalers because my margin was pretty small. And so I set up a direct to seller company and we started buying 20 to 25 deals a year, all while working a full-time job, FYI, and managing up to 15 properties. Um, but that was really the big unlock is when we started doing direct to seller, we started getting our own deals, and then it just became, a real business, and from there it was good.
I love the insight you just shared there because, if you're looking at your business through the lens of what is the constraint to growth, and it started with the construction, right? You need to have contractors, someone who could do the work. Then it went to capital, how am I going to finance these deals? I need the money to be able to do more deals. Once you're able to unlock the capital, then it became, well, I just need more deals now, right? How do I get my hands on more deals and opportunities? The other part of that is control, right? Because at every one of those steps, you still are relying on someone else. But at a certain point, you get more control. And doesn't control doesn't mean you have to do the work or it has to be your company. It just means that you're not going to be stopped by an individual, right? So if you have one contractor who is too busy or, can't do this job, you have multiple contractors that are lined up. And I think a lot of times when people start, they rely so heavily on that one individual that if anything happens to that individual, their entire deal gets sidetracked, right? And derailed. So that's where you start to grow in your business is by getting more control over not just the process, but also either the vendors or having more control over, managing the direction and the outcome and the flow of things. Let's talk about that just a little bit more because I do think it's incredible that you were able to build this up while working a full-time job, right? So you're talking about building this out, getting these properties, managing, 25 deals annually that you're bringing in through your lead generation process. What was your vision at that point? When you were doing these deals, like what was the vision and where did you realize that, okay, here are the things that we can work with third party partners on, and here are the things that we have to bring in-house?
Mhm. Well, the vision is I always just wanted to be retired on real estate. That was the big vision, right? Have enough cash flow coming in that I didn't have to work for money. Um, and so yeah, I guess at that stage in my life, it was just, we want to buy 20 plus deals a year now. And then after we did that, and I say we, it was me and a partner. Okay, so I want to be very clear. I was not able to buy 20 plus deals, just me. So it was me and a partner, and he had a full-time job, and we worked probably 40 hours a week outside of our full-time job on doing what we were doing, right? So it was a time. Um, but then I guess the vision became I got into multifamily and I got a 23 unit that came into my boat off market deal and it was a home run deal. And so the first deal went really well. Um, and then I saw the scalability aspect of multifamily. And this was back in 2021 when market was great for multifamily and real estate in general. So in 21, I did three total multifamily deals, along with buying 20 plus houses and working a full-time job. And then at the end of the year, I said, okay, things are going well. I'm going to leave the full-time job. And for some God known reason, I started a management company to manage the 70 units that we had at that point. And because we saw going back to control, we saw the lapse in how poorly the properties were being ran with operations. And we said, okay, we know we can do better. Or I know I can do better. I started it. This is fully on my own here. And the second reason I started it is because I did partner with, again, two different people. On the multi, I partnered with a different person. On the single, I partnered with a different person. And so I had partners on that. And I knew that it was my responsibility as the operator. And so when I saw the operations not going as smoothly as I saw it could, that was when I said, okay, if I'm going to raise capital, I want to have full control, as you just mentioned, right? To be able to produce the results that I initially, know can be done. And so that was when I started a management company. It was the hardest thing I ever did. Um, and at this point now we have 5 full-time employees and we do run it, and I'm a lot more hands off than I was. But yeah, I guess I hope that answers your question. There's so many more things I could talk about in the journey, but I'm trying to keep it
Yeah.
brief in time here.
Let's talk about that a little bit more though, right? So you launched a property management company, and your main reason for launching it was recognizing that there were some inefficiencies with the way your properties were operating. Was that PM company for all the property, all the units, or just for the multifamily?
It was for all of our houses and multifamily.
Okay. So you realized the inefficiencies, you launched a property management company. What was the hardest thing about launching that property management firm?
The hardest thing was that I was a sales guy. I was killing it in my sales role, right? Like I had the skill set of a sales guy. I did not have the skill set of a business owner and a manager. And so the hardest thing for me was learning how to hire and fire, learning how to put in systems, right? Learning how to do training, like holding people accountable. I thought everyone was like me and could just be trusted and worked really hard. And I got taken advantage of so badly. Like it was a very stressful time in my life. Like to give you context, I passed out 4 times from stress because of how poorly I was running the business because I had such bad people in the business. And so like I mean, yeah, it was a hard time. Things have changed ever since I hired a consultant. And so I like to say you pay the learning tax one of two ways, and I will never ever pay the learning tax through trial by fire again. Like hiring a consultant really changed our trajectory, and I didn't really believe in coaching very much until I hired a consultant. And then now, because it was so transformational for me, that's why I became a consultant myself to help people not go through this stress and this terrible time that I went through.
I appreciate you sharing that and being a little vulnerable there to talk about just some of the challenges you faced. And I think that's the reality of so many people when they, have some real estate success. And I'll say just say some, but when you have some real estate success and you say, okay, hey, I can make this a full business, or I can do this, or I can do that. It's that you do have to rely on so many other people, right? And it could be from, inspectors to contractors to electricians to brokers to agents to, so many people, right, are in the process. And we want to trust these individuals that they're going to do what they're supposed to do, particularly those of us who come from corporate America. But then you realize that, hey, there's some people who are absolutely just going to take advantage of the situation, right? Real estate at its core is really more of a blue collar business. And if you come from corporate America with your white collar mindset, it is pretty easy to make mistakes. I mean, that's exactly what happened to me. We got into a deal where we were flipping it, and I partnered with another developer. And I'm like, all right, great. They've got the development piece. I'll be the money. I'll be the money. Well, something happened with that guy. He ended up, having some life issues happen. And I had to step in, and I'm trusting guys to do what they said they're going to do. Right? You said you're going to show up and be there to paint on Wednesday. Okay, great. Wednesday comes, no one's at the property. Hey guys, what's going on? Oh yeah, yeah, we'll be there Friday. You told me you're going to be here Wednesday. Oh yeah, well, something happened, but you didn't even communicate to me that something happened and something changed. And it's a constant thing, and you really have to understand that it's hands on, right? It's almost like if you ran a fast food restaurant. If you talked about the Chick-fil-A earlier, if you have a fast food restaurant, you can't just say, "Hey guys, make sure you work these hours, and I'll check on you at the end of the week," right? Like they're not showing up. If they go there and they see no one's there to supervise them, they're out. So it's that kind of mentality. And yes, you want to trust and verify and all that stuff, but it's just a different mindset. And I think people come from kind of a white collar world. They get, maybe taken advantage of when they don't realize how they have to really have those checks and balances put in place. So I appreciate you sharing more about kind of your journey there. The second thing you said, though, was actually really interesting. You talked about really having your own challenges to the point where you were having health issues, and you realized, what, this just isn't working. Let me go hire somebody to help me with this. You hire this consultant. You didn't really believe in coaching because you kind of, figured things out for yourself, which makes sense. But after hiring this coach, you said, man, this has enlightened me to the point where I actually want to help other people in the same way. And I thought that was great. I actually just wrote an article about this because it's not that you need a coach to teach you how to do it. It's that you want to save yourself that heartache, right? If someone else has the blueprint and they can, teach that to you and help you navigate it, you can make more money faster, you can save time, you can avoid the costly mistakes they've made. There's so much value in that. And sometimes people don't recognize it and they just want to try it themselves and figure it out. But when you get hit the way you got hit, when you got hit the way I got hit, you really value hiring that coach or mentor or consultant because it's painful. And real estate investing can be brutal, right? It's the wild, wild west. So it can be absolutely brutal. We're talking hundreds of thousands, if not, tens of thousands of dollars that could be lost. So making sure you have the right people on your team is absolutely critical. Going back to that, who not how philosophy. For those folks who are maybe contemplating, bringing in a professional to help them grow or help them with maybe a blueprint or a process or a system to scale their real estate portfolio, what would you say to them to help them understand just the value in having that right person on your team?
I would say look at what the cost is. So there's a price to things and there's a cost to things. And when someone told me this, I did not get it at first, but the price is what you pay for it. The cost is what you pay for not doing it in the long run. And so, for example, if you're in real estate, right? Like the cost of me not getting coaching was me passing out, not being a good father, right? And struggling through this broken business. The cost was immense, right? Maybe you're sitting there and you're trying to build a portfolio, but you don't really know where to go, right? What if you knew where to go? How much could you actually be making in real estate? Could you be making 100,000 a year in equity? Could you be making 1 million a year in equity, right? Everything has an exponential learning curve. And so the cost of not doing it is wherever you'd be on that learning curve. So let's just say you're going to generate 100,000 in equity if you know what you're doing in real estate. What is it costing you? 100,000 in equity every single year, not knowing how to get there. And so the price of coaching may be 10 grand, but the cost is 100 grand or 1 million. And it's exponential as you get older because real estate is wonderful. So I would say weigh the price and the cost of your goals to what you want to achieve compared to the price of paying for the consultant.
Now, I love that. I think it's really a great way to think of it. Just to add a little to that, I've always thought about it from the standpoint of price is what you pay, value is what you get. And I think too often people focus on the dollar amount of what it's going to cost them, money monetarily, not necessarily what they're going to get or that opportunity cost that they might miss out on without making that investment. So great stuff there. For folks who want to learn more, they can check out your website, WyattSimon.com. I know that you are wrapping up on the book and that should be available soon. When folks check that out, when that is released, what kind of information can they find when they read that book?
Yeah, so it's the real estate investor's playbook to scaling a 100-unit portfolio. It's everything, all the learning lessons. I touched on a few here, but all of the learning lessons that I had, all the foundational pieces organized into one book for what I wish I had, right? I put it together for like me 5, 6, 7 years ago, what I wish I had. So I made it for everybody.
I love it. I love it. We'll make sure we put a link to your website in our show notes and be on the lookout for Wyatt's book. Right now, we're going to transition to our round of insights. Wyatt, we've talked about this a little bit, so I think I know the answer, but let you pick either way. Give me a failure or an apparent failure that set you up for later success.
Yeah, I mean, the Purple Palace is one of the best examples of it. Just being able to take the punches, take the hits, handle those hits with my day job income, right? And then be able to start scaling with good contractor relationships.
Give me a digital or mobile resource you recommend for your business.
I'm going to go with something a little different here. So when you're crafting a vision, right, I always take all of my students and I say, hey, go to Franklin Covey's from 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, or Stephen Covey's from 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Go there and Google 7 Habits of Highly Successful People's mission statement. And there's a free resource on that website where you can actually develop and craft your personal mission statement. And it's so powerful because, again, we start with vision. Vision will drive you to do the work and to do the things when it's hard. Because you can do it when it's easy, but when it's hard, that's really when like success is created, by just pushing through in the hard times and not quitting. And the mission statement really helps with that.
Give me the book you've recommended or gifted the most in the last year.
Hmm. I'm going to go with The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy.
It's a good book there. All right, give me a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals.
3 wins every single day. What are the 3 wins for today to make today great? Start that in the morning. Focus on that. Those are the micro wins of the macro for the week, for the month, for the quarter, for the year, for the 3-year, and for the 10-year vision. That's all every single time.
What's your number one insight for scaling a portfolio?
Learn, as you said, control, learn leverage. So both are the same thing, but what it means is don't have one contractor, have 3. Don't have one banker, have 3. Don't have one employee and not know how to hire. Be able to know how to hire so you can fire that one if they're not doing a good job and replace, right? Have leverage to be able to fire people quickly if they're not doing their job, so that you can replace quickly and keep the vision going.
You are in Omaha. Give me your favorite place to grab a bite to eat.
Ooh, all right. Let's go with Charred Burger and Bar. And believe it or not, they got Wagyu burger beef, which is really good, but I love the salads there are massive. So I go there probably 3 or 4 times a week.
Oh, I love it, man. Sounds like a great place. Great stuff, Wyatt. You talked about, just your background, really as a young person, working your W-2 job, convincing your dad to help you get that line of credit. But before that, you actually had your own duplex. So you had started investing and was just trying to figure out how to scale, right? Leveraging that BRRRR strategy. You were able to do that, scaling your portfolio with the help of, people close to you, your friend Nate. And as you scaled that portfolio, you had to kind of grow, bringing in, some help with construction, bringing in help with deal finding, bringing in help with property management. And from there, really teaching other people how to grow and scale that portfolio as well. Again, for folks who want to learn more, they can check out your website, WyattSimon.com. We will make sure we link to that in our show notes. Wyatt, thanks again for being a great guest and coming on Multifamily Insights. We look forward to staying in touch with you, and I hope you have a great day.